Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Criterion Connection. I'm Wade.
And I'm not Joe, I'm Scott. And today, as you can tell by our shirts representing one Glenn Danzig, we're watching. Oh, wait, that's right. We don't have the rights to it. Crap,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to pay Glenn a bunch of money. But you know what I'm talking about. He did that song, Twist of Cain.
Yes.
Uh,
Albert Brooks's Twist of Cain. That's what we're doing right now. It's a new release on the Criterion Connection collection. It's Mother.
yeah, it's
Starring,
Mother.
starring Albert Brooks and Debbie Reynolds.
And that's really about it. So many people. One of the things. So I
This
watched
is the second Albert Brooks film we've done.
third one I've ever watched.
We did,
Broadcast News.
Broadcast News does not count. It's not.
But he's in it.
I know he's in it. Okay. I mean, an Albert Brooks creation. We did Lost in America.
See, I'm not hung
ago.
up. I'm not hung up on those little things like him and Joe. As far as I'm concerned, if you're in it, it's your movie. I don't care who you are, what you starred in. You know, for all we know, this. Sometimes I'd call this a Lisa Kudrow movie, even though she's only in it for.
She's top build, she's fourth build, fifth build. One.
But yeah, so this is my third experience with Albert Brooks. My first experience with anything in him was Broadcast News. I didn't really like it, although I have considered going back and rewatching it. So I don't know how Wade would feel about the idea, but if my opinions change, maybe
a redux.
I was gonna say I can record an update, a PS to that video.
Okay. The first ever Criterion Connection PS.
And before that, I had watched The Scout with my wife, who we felt kind of duped into because the cover makes you think it's gonna be this like lighthearted sports movie, like. Kind of like Little Big League or like a Little Giants. Like it gives you that vibe if you ever look it up. And we didn't hate it, but it just when you go into a movie expecting one thing and you get another, and there was clearly at no point were they trying to like subvert your expectations. That can taint an experience. But this one I went into with optimism because I like Albert Brooks as a guy. I've seen some of his stand-up since the last thing.
Great documentary on Max right now.
I still need to watch that.
So good.
But I've been watching his stand-up. I got into his stand-up since the Broadcast News review. And, having watched his last two movies, this is the movie where I get him.
Yeah, he's also in Finding Nemo.
He isn't Finding Nemo. He's the dad.
Yes.
But this is the one where I get his comedy. He's not a laugh out loud comedian, at least not on film. Stand up he can be, but the comedy is subtle.
He's funny. There's someone honking their horn outside
Because they agree.
He's funny in things that I think his writing understands him more than other people. It's strange in how like he captures Albert Brooks the best because he's Albert Brooks.
Yeah. Well, you hopefully, but trust me, there's people who don't understand themselves. But no, I think with him it's subtle. You're looking for punchlines. When you hear comedy, you're looking for punchlines. You're looking for certain things in the presentation that make you think comedy. And I don't think he does that. And I think this was one of those ones where I got it. It's not, again, it's subtle. Not everybody's going to catch it, but when you catch it, or if you relate to the joke, which I related to a lot in this movie, let me tell you. But no, this was the one that
he's got that.
I get it, and I'm here for it.
It's the kind of comedy that you appreciate Phil Hartman for, or something like. It's like a low key comedy.
Yes, and that's something that I mentioned before we started rolling. I really like this vibe that I don't know when we got away from it, but just the concept of the little movie. You know what I mean? Like
a self-contained movie that's like
a self-contained movie that's not particularly big. That's not.
It's a part of their lives.
It's like a slice of life. We're telling a story. We don't got to be grandiose. We don't have to be arty-farty. We don't have to like. Just you just tell the story. You get your dick out of it. And you just tell a good story, and you cast the right people, not names. You cast the right people, and you get good movies like this.
Realistically, it's a two-person movie for the most part. Albert Brooks and Debbie Reynolds.
Who
she's okay.
She was, oh my god, she was the perfect choice. I don't know if anyone could play her role like she did. I mean, she did such a great job because she gives you that air of like where you kind of understand both perspectives. You understand her, where she comes from and where he comes from with just the way they interact.
Yeah.
You can see both sides of the story play out in front of you.
And Rob Morrow plays the brother. He's kind of like, he's not a main character, but he's a main character in the idea sense of
He's
like,
a specter over top all of it, because the whole point, the crux of the movie is, I forgot his name in the movie, but
it's John.
So
John Henderson.
He's having trouble with women. So he thinks, okay, maybe I need to understand my relationship with my mother and figure that out, and maybe that will fix my relationship.
He also has a writer block.
He also has a writer's block, which gets brought up quite a few times.
Yeah.
And on top of all that, you've got the situation where, his brother is, the big mama's boy, so you have the two sides of it. You have the quote unquote favorite, or as the Rugrats put it, you have the favorite and you have the reject, even though he's not really a reject. She never gives up a vibe that she doesn't love him.
She has like she gives us the vibe that she thinks she knows she loves him.
Yes.
As he quotes in that, which is a good line. Before we get into there's some great punchlines early on in the movie of scenes like the scene where he gets home after his divorce, and it's just that he's got that chair and I'm gonna rearrange the room, and he rearranges the room only to end up for everything to go back to where it was.
Except the phone. He keeps the phone exactly where he put it.
There's the scene where he has the date with Lisa Kudrow, and then do a hard cut of him on a beach in the nighttime screaming, "Help me! Help me!" Probably there's one moment that made me laugh out loud. It is the driving montage.
Oh, you mean the great Mrs. Robinson? It was Mrs. Henderson?
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to realize it was a parody?
It took me pretty instantly because I had the subtitles on.
Oh, me too. Okay. So I did it too, and the subtitles kind of like took that fun part of it out for me.
Oh God, what is he? He's that old guy. When he's getting gas.
Oh, the old guy just sitting there. He's like,
he was in something. Oh,
I didn't
look this up.
I didn't recognize him, so I don't know.
Oh, but yeah, he's a famous. He's been in stuff. He's like a mechanic. And what was the joke? He was like,
I don't remember. I just remember Big Mama. He's like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Or I don't understand what that means.
I think he said Big Sir, and then he was like, no, Big Mama, and he started laughing. It's like, I don't even know what that means. Hard cut back to the song.
Which, shout out to whoever wrote the lyrics. They did a really good job.
And there's fun things like the picture phone.
Yeah.
Which has a payoff, too.
Yeah. Which you don't... It's one of those things you don't expect to have a payoff or to actually be a real, like, plot device, but it really does, both in how it's used, where it comes from. But I guess that's the magic of Albert Brooks, finding those little subtle things that make, to tell the story. And just the whole dynamic of them kind of figuring out why their relationship as mother and son doesn't quite work. You see, like, they come from different worlds. He's a vegetarian, which his mother just cannot understand what that means.
And he also doesn't live frugal. He lives not lavish, but he's not going to be afraid to get the good Haagen-Dazs and not the old
Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth sherbet, which had the protective ice over it.
Yeah. She pinches every penny. He's willing to spend an extra $1 here and there. He's vegetarian. She eats meat. And, there's just this weird disconnect that, like, it's unspoken, but it's there.
She makes excuses
She makes excuses. She always has to, like, tell, like, regardless of whether or not they care. One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is when they go to the Gap. And and I think she was about to say something, or she did. And he's asked the guy, like, hey, let me ask you, if my mother didn't come up and tell you all this stuff, you wouldn't give a crap about us, would you?
And he said, no.
No.
Hard cut. The editing's really good in this, too.
Yes.
But there was the malls. They have like little moments. Like there's the mall scene is great.
The grocery store.
The grocery store.
The grocery store is iconic.
God.
The grocery store is iconic. The jelly, the fancy jelly, and the fancy peanut butter.
Because you and me were grown. you and me grew up in the fancy jam time.
Yes.
So we understand the fancy jam
Oh.
time. We don't understand anything before that.
Oh, of course.
Even back when she's like, I grew up in the Depression. She was 2.
But
there was one scene when
sorry.
she bumps into her neighbor.
Yeah.
They bump into the neighbor and
twice.
And it's like, oh, we bumped into her. It's a funny story. And he's like, really not that funny of a story. And it's just.
And then they're telling the guy who's talking to each other, hey, we just ran into each other. Isn't that funny? And he's just like humoring them.
Yeah. And what I like about the film is it's simple, but it's very effective in like it gradually grows the characters and also peels back the onion of Jeff, the other brother, which we don't see much, but we see like when she cancels that maybe we gradually learn that like John is not like as damaged as he perceives it, and we realize that the perfect son is not as perfect as he is.
Yeah. Well, remember, up until this point, like, the brother is where John wants to be as far as a relationship with his parents. So, I mean, it makes sense that he doesn't show up a lot, but, like, once the idea of, like you said, like, disappointment and not being able to fulfill an obligation just, like, drives him absolutely nuts.
It's where he drives 400 miles to talk to her, and then it really all pays off to where she kind of like wants to be there for her son more because she's kind of like her own independent person and she's kind of closed off. And when she has the guy from Miami or whatever over or wherever he is from,
dude just did not understand.
He could not
take a hint. No.
And it led to, I don't want to spoil it because if you want to watch the movie, it's really good.
You should watch this movie. Spoiler. I liked it.
I don't want to say spoiler, but there's a realization of why there's that disconnect. And it makes sense and it clicks and he says one line, I'll just say the line that really was great. He's like, I don't see you as a mother or my mother. I see you as a failure. And that's awesome. Excellent.
Wonderful.
And that's wonderful. And then the movie just ends. It kind of has a resolution. Both of them end up in better places. He finds something that he's been looking for, and she kind of delves into what's been holding her back a little bit and diving in. She has the confidence. He has the confidence. It's a really good film, and it's also like it's self-contained. It's just a part of that moment in their life. It's not the most important. It may be
I was gonna say I would say it is the most important.
It may be it's a turning point in their lives. But how many turning points do you have in your life? You know, you have multiple turning points. So that's more so what I'm saying is like this is just one of those pivotal moments of their lives. We don't see their whole life story. We don't have all that.
Right. And also somebody who hasn't always had the best relationship with their mother and having a very complicated, I don't want to say love-hate, but let's just say some days are better than others. I related a lot to this movie. It made me ask a lot of questions about my own relationship with my mother. Although I know my mother did not live the life that his mother did, which is to avoid the spoiler on that. Because again, like we said, we want you to watch the movie.
So Scott, I mean, would you recommend the film to the general audience?
Yeah, as I said, spoiler alert. I recommend it. I think as long as you see the word comedy in the description and you don't expect like laugh out loud, gut busting comedy.
It's not Farrelly Brothers.
I think you're good. I mean, again, it's a well told story. It's a kind of story that I think needs to be told and needs to be told more. I think this is also a movie that I think needs a modern update with how complicated relationships and stuff have gotten in the internet age and everything. But this movie doesn't date itself either. Only with some of the technology, yes. But as far as every other aspect of it, it doesn't date itself. It works just as well now as it did before. But I think some modern day tweaks as far as like technology and the way social media is used and things like that, I think could make for an interesting remake.
I would also recommend the film to the audience. I thought it was a really great film, really good comedy. It's like I said, it's not laugh out loud, but it's like a good kind of like it's just
kind of a feel good movie.
It's like it's like that late 80s, early 90s kind of like comedy that's like kind of subtle, and it's like an onion that it's like an onion where you like you watch it and you get absorb a lot of stuff, and you watch it a second time, you absorb more jokes, you get more jokes out of it, stuff like that.
And let's get back. Can we please get back to these small scale movies? I'm not saying you got to do like it all takes place in one room and all that stuff, but can we like get back to these like smaller movies? I'll tell you
No,
what.
they have to be $100 million and CGI green screen, and Tom Cruise jumping off a cliff. So, what's your thoughts on Mother? Glenn Danzig's Red Hot Summer.
Oh, I thought we were doing the Criterion review of Veronica.
Oh.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comment section below what you think about Mother. What do mothers think about this film?
Yeah, because
we're talking about two
sons of mothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have that perspective. So
Yeah.
yeah, any mothers watching, if you've seen this movie or go on to watch this movie, what are your thoughts from a mother's perspective?
Yeah. We should have got our mothers to watch this film and then sit.
Oh my god, that would have been such a great idea.
Oh, I would not want to film it. Anyway.
Also, who would you cast in the remake?
Yeah. Also, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Be sure to suggest more movies because we're not done. We did like 250 episodes.
There's more than 250.
There's still like 800 to 1,000 more out there, so we're not done.
And they're still coming.
Yeah, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on Instagram, Condish Productions. Follow us on Letterboxd, Criterion Connection. So that's it. So until next time, I'm Wade.
And I go to 11. I'm Scott.
And we'll see you later. I'm going to buy some new clothes.